Welcome back, everybody, to another video. I know I've been kind of late with the videos. I've just kind of had some personal things going on in my life. Nothing bad, but rest assured I will be trying to upload regularly again. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. I'm here to talk about Across the Spiderverse. I've seen it twice now, and I have a lot to say. I was gonna say mostly good things, but they're all good things. So much, in fact, that I don't even think I'm going to make a mixed or bad part of this movie review, because there's genuinely nothing wrong with the movie. So, with that said, guys, if you are new here, consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you have not watched the movie yet, this is your spoiler warning, because there are some serious spoilers ahead. So save this video and then come back later if you have not watched it. And without further ado, let's get into the review. So, easily one of the first things I need to talk about in this movie is the score. My word, I mean, even after my first viewing of the movie, the Miguel O'Hara little theme that they have in this movie, and not just that, but like even like the opening with like Gwen playing in the Mary Jane's band, and just all the little like weird, interesting tunes that they have in this movie are so catchy. Every single one of them is so catchy. Like, not only do you get to watch this like awesome animation before you, but you get to listen to an awesome like soundtrack music with it. And for me, that just completes the puzzle. I literally remember getting out of my showing and going and downloading these songs from the album of this movie, because it's just fantastic and I want to listen to it. So definitely this movie had one of the best scores, probably the best out of any Spider-Man movie. Next, I want to talk about all the different Spider-Man, Spider people, because there's a lot of them. Just one or two of the few that I really want to like dive into quick is like the fact that, of course, at the end of this movie we do get like our original Spider people back, like Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Ham, you know, all those people. Well, you don't really see them in Miguel O'Hara's like Spider Society people. We see, from what I remember, just to name a couple of few, we saw Spectacular Spider-Man, Insomniac. We just saw a lot. I mean, there's even a Tyrannosaurus Rex one, a horse and cowboy Spider-Man, Andrew. I mean, we don't see him in the Spider Society, but we see them in memory, in the big web. And it's just, there's so many. There's so many different Spider-Men. I think we even see the original Spider-Man, which was pretty cool, I thought. There's references to, of course, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, which we saw that in the trailer, which was pretty cool, I thought. We have Miguel O'Hara, I always get his name wrong. The one, it's like the Indian kind of Spider-Man. It's Patverta Prabhaktikar or something like that. I'm really bad. I just butchered that pronunciation, but that's fine. You know who I'm talking about. That was a really cool Spider-Man, I thought. And then we got Spider-Punk. Yeah, just so many different Spider-Men that it was hard not to be entertained, especially with all their own little unique like art styles. Especially with Spider-Punk's looking like, you know, he was just ripped out of like an early 2000s magazine. That was pretty cool. Probably by far one of my favorite things about this movie was the different art styles in the different universes that we got to go to in this movie. With number one having to be Gwen Stacy's, or Spider-Gwen's universe. With like the watercolor vibe thing, and then like when an important moment happened, like there's this one moment I remember when she hugs her dad. It like does this like pink, like to represent like love, and she hugs her dad and it's like this pink like burst of color, and I just loved that. I love how it looks nothing like Miles's world. It looks like her own. It's like very like watercolor and like just a very different art style from Miles, because Miles is very like, it looks comic booky, not in the sense like it just has that like newer comic book look, and like with like the little panels and stuff like that. It just like that's just the kind of look that Miles Universe has. I thought the pink and the green one, the one without a Spider-Man, where Miles was Prowler, was pretty cool. The Indian, I'm not gonna say his name because I'll butcher it again, but I'll say Indian Spider-Man. His universe was pretty cool. Definitely had a much different like vibe to it. And then we had Spider-Man 2099, the Lego world, which I found out was there was a kid who made like a whole like trailer for Across the Spiderverse, and he was the one that was able to make that whole Lego part, which I thought was pretty cool actually. We even get to go to like the Venom universe, which is live action of course, but still pretty funny. Moving on to the pacing. So in Into the Spider-Verse, I love the movie, but there are points in that movie when I'm like, oh, okay, like this, you know, this point definitely isn't as interesting as some of the other parts. I went through this whole movie, and even my second time, and I'm like, okay, is there any point of this movie where I'm like, yeah, I'm wishing for the next part to happen? And I can honestly say that that wasn't the case, because in every moment, they find a way to like have a reason for something happening. Even the part with like where it's like the Miles introduction into his world, you have Spot, you have Spider-Gwen coming to his world, talking to him, them talking, then his mom and him talking, then his parents and him talking. There's always something being added, and it doesn't just feel like unnecessary dialogue. And that was something that I loved. I think that's kind of what threw this to a 5-star for me instead of a 4.5 or a 4-star, because a lot of movies have, like, especially superhero movies, have that dry spell in there somewhere where it's just like, oh yeah, you have the awesome action sequences and the awesome like call to action and falling action and rising action. For example, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania had that with like the very beginning of the movie, and it's just like, oh okay, like we're all just waiting for Ant-Man and Kang to meet each other. You know what I mean? This movie didn't have that. It was consistent the whole way through. I was totally entertained the whole entire time. Let's talk about the Spot, because going into this movie, I didn't really know too much about him, but I was excited to see like, okay, like this looks like a funny, goofy kind of villain. Well, let me just say, after he combines with the super collider and does like that dark version of himself with the white spots, I am completely terrified of the guy. I think he looks like an absolute awesome villain, and I cannot wait to see what kind of havoc he reigns on the Spider-Verse and specifically Miles' world as well. I just think he just looks absolutely menacing. Plus we got some pretty cool dialogue with him, like he's like telling the people like about the ATM machine. There's I mean obviously he kind of gets hold of his powers pretty quickly, and that's just because he keeps messing up with them, which is, you know, how you learn how to use your powers. But he just kind of wants to be seen throughout this movie. He feels like Miles isn't taking him seriously, which is, you know, kind of expected because he doesn't even look like a human being. He just looks like the figure of a human with just spots all over him. Obviously he doesn't have a face, he doesn't even have a face. So it's very interesting. So some of the references I did want to talk about. The biggest reference I think in this movie was the Donald Glover as Prowler, because in case you guys didn't know, and I'm sure you've heard this by now, Miles Morales is actually kind of inspired off of the Donald Glover, like, because Donald Glover in Community, he did this whole thing where like, oh, like Donald Glover for Spider-Man as Miles Morales, and like it's kind of a whole thing, like, because Miles didn't even exist when Donald Glover wanted to be Spider-Man. He just wanted to be Spider-Man, and then Miles kind of came into existence, and you know the creator said that he was kind of the inspiration for that. And obviously Donald Glover played Aaron Davis in Spider-Man Homecoming, and for the longest time everyone thought, oh my word, like this is gonna, like, are we gonna get Prowler? And in this movie, we get a live action Prowler, which was just awesome. I thought that that was hilarious. And you know, maybe a tease that will eventually get him in the Homecoming universe as well. I would love to see that happen, hopefully. But there was even like Moo Stereo and She Stereo, or Ms. Stereo. Yeah, Ms. Stereo and Moose. Like, I think that's from the Spider-Ham universe, which is, again, all the little references were just awesome. Kind of going into like just the final quick talks about this. The movie's message in this is very well done. And just the fact that, like, you know, Miles, they're trying to tell Miles he's not supposed to exist. Not that Miles isn't supposed to exist, but he's not supposed to be Spider-Man. He wasn't supposed to get bitten by the spider, which kind of depends on how you view things. Was the spider ever supposed to leave the universe? Was that supposed to happen? Who knows? But it did, and it bit Miles, and now there's a universe without Spider-Man. Which I guess we're kind of just gonna see in Beyond the Spider-Verse if it really was ever meant to happen or if it was a mistake. But I think it's cool to play around with the concept of Miguel O'Hara just sees that if it doesn't happen in that universe the way it's supposed to happen, then it's a mistake. But, you know, maybe it's not about that. Maybe it's about this universe has an effect on this universe. Who knows? It really could be like that. Because as far as I'm concerned, Miles has done a fantastic job with his role as Spider-Man. And plus, the other thing that, like, kind of gets me with this is the fact that, like, apparently that's supposed to be a canon event. In that universe, you're supposed to become the other Miles was supposed to become Spider-Man. But if that's true, isn't there supposed to be some kind of, like, black hole kind of thing like they did in the Spider-Man Indian universe? So I'm wondering if that's something that they'll throw into the mix in Beyond the Spider-Verse. Finally, again, I just do want to quick talk about that final ending with Miles being Prowler, which I thought was an awesome way to reveal, by the way. I obviously think that they're going to end up teaming up in the final movie, especially because one of them has a dad, or the opposite will happen where he tries to steal his dad. Who knows? But I do know that I am very excited to see Beyond the Spider-Verse, which we have to wait for less than a year for. I believe it comes out in March of next year. So I believe that is when we will see that movie. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, I absolutely enjoyed this movie. If you want to see my quick Letterboxd review, I'll put it up somewhere here. And please, if you have not seen this movie yet, or if you have seen it, maybe go see it again. It's definitely worth the watch. There were a lot of things I picked up on in my second viewing that I did not notice in my first viewing. Plus, the movie's that good anyway that I feel like anyone would want to go see it a second time. Between the score and the animation, it's just beautiful. And I think even now I have it ranked as my #1 Spider-Man movie of all time. So, yeah, guys, I think that'll just about do it. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace, everybody.